Grand Rising, beautiful souls. Wherever you are on this phenomenal planet, it is that time. And it's really showtime wherever I go, wherever I move, regardless of what airport I am in or whatever state I land in. So this is going to be a phenomenal show. And we continue our series from Shift Your Thinking Tuesdays, where we transform our internal experience to a phenomenal experience for 13 minutes of our time, where we do it together every week. And I'm doing something a little bit different because I am in Atlanta. And so my time zone is a little off, and we're just going to go ahead and run through the show because I will be in connecting flights before I actually land back home. So this is going to be a great episode. I'm calling it Selective Forgiveness. And for those of you who are tuning into the show, thank you very much for connecting, building, and sharing with yours truly, Lisa Puerto, at LA Super Agent on all social media and including radio podcasts everywhere. Love you, love you, love you for all of those who are connecting and getting hip to what we're doing on our Tuesday show. So remember, this is a bonus series that is happening on the Ready, Set, Real Estate show. So I'm excited about that. And we are continuing our series from Shift Your Thinking, authored by Dean Del Sesto, 200 Ways to Improve Your Life. And for those of you who are following along, I'm in the section called Forgiveness is the Power That is Needed for Giving. So this is why I called it Selective Forgiveness, and we'll kind of expand on that, which is going to be really fun. So the author says, during the course of our lifetime, we will ask forgiveness hundreds, if not thousands of times, and justifiably so. There will also be times that we won't ask, but should. For those of you who are holding it in. Then there are the times we will have an opportunity to forgive someone who offends, betrays, or hurt us. And sometimes we'll forgive them, and sometimes we won't. He continues and says, forgiveness is a selective activity, but it shouldn't be. He says there is a maturity in forgiving others that comes from understanding how fragile and volatile we all are as humans. I'm going to stop there so we can build for a second. And for those of you who are feeding into or picking up any background, I definitely concluded the Generational Wealth Building Conference that I have had an honor to be a part of as one of the guest presenters here in Atlanta. So I am on my way back to LA, and I'm booked for a conference in San Diego and then Las Vegas. So keep up with me. Make sure you jump on the website to see where I'm headed to next, to see if I'm coming to a city near you, because we're doing phenomenal things. That's just really what it's about. Connect, build, and share. So as we're talking about forgiveness, it's so funny because I can totally relate to this, especially when we keep thinking about as he says, holding it in. You're holding it in, and you should forgive, right? And oftentimes this is not about the other person. This is about you relinquishing, you releasing, you freeing yourself of what you're carrying, because you're carrying that. This is your internal experience, and that is what you're manifesting in the external world. This is what you're exuding. So if you're bottled up, you're feeling all tight, all knotted up, because you're carrying something that you should let go. And that's why I like that he breaks this down. This is a play on words, forgiveness. You have to give it, right? You've got to give it. And it's so needed to do that. And the reason why I say I could totally relate to this, because I had an interesting situation that happened last night. I was getting a phone call from LA. It was business related. And there was a disconnect in communication. I'm not in the best reception where I am, and especially being in Atlanta, my phone and my network is like, okay, you're definitely not where you're normally. And so the call got dropped and disconnected, and the person took offense to that. Believe it or not, and just started to send just crazy messages that for me was just totally left hook for me. I didn't understand that. And so before I got rattled, and I was getting ready to do another show, And so before I got rattled, I had to let that go. I had to forgive that because it had nothing to do with me. Again, we're looking at external influences, and this person took it highly personal. So I had to let that go. Why? Because I was going to then take that energy with me on the next show that I was invited to be a guest on and share more about what I do. So I was so glad that I was able to identify that experience had nothing to do with me, but I still forgave that person because they don't know what it looks like on my side. They don't know the network is not in the best selection. I mean, my phone was asking me to do something new that I never asked, which it was asking me to do connect by Wi-Fi. But that wasn't necessary. So just a snippet of that. It can be those small things that tend to snowball into bigger things when we're carrying that. And so that I did not want to do. I wasn't going to carry that with me, especially because I had a phenomenal time, powerful time being in Atlanta and doing the work that I'm doing and seeing the need and seeing everything come in full circle. And it's just been an absolute blessing to be here. And I didn't want to mess that up, nor did I want somebody else to mess that up. So I wanted to make sure that I still maintained my power, still maintained my control. So I'll continue. He says, the fact that we forgive some things and don't forgive others is simply because we choose not to walk a few feet in someone else's shoes. I think that's a great spot to build right there, because as I called the show today, Selective Forgiveness, which means if we can choose to forgive others and choose to not to forgive some other people, that means we have choice, and that's what this is about. We're being armed and empowered with choice to make decisions that not just impact our lives, but the lives of everyone around us, right? Shift your thinking. That's what we're doing for 13 minutes every single day. I shouldn't say every single day, every week for 13 minutes, where we're transforming our inner experience to a phenomenal outer experience. If you're catching me on a replay, I want to say thank you if you just tuned in. Welcome. We're doing our Shift Your Thinking series, and we are joined together. I am broadcasting from Atlanta. I'm in the airport before my connecting flight. So this is just really powerful. I mean, definitely, I am really putting this in perspective, because when I look at the things that have happened for me, and oftentimes that's even just a mental adjustment, where oftentimes you're thinking things are happening to you, but they're happening for you. And we talked about this, the 90-10 rule. 90% is happening to us, and 10% is how we're responding to it, right? So we've got to pay attention to that. So I'll continue. He says, but if we can't naturally reach that level of sensitivity, that means you have to be in tune with what we talk about all the time, emotional intelligence, raising your vibration, raising your frequency, and tapping into your higher intelligence, emotional quotient, EQ. So that means you have to tap into the human experience of being sensitive to someone else. And last week's episode, we talked about it's not always about you. It's not always about you. He says, then a good starting point would be note the word give in forgiveness. I caught that. That's why I wanted to share that with you. He says it implies that in order to forgive someone, we must take something away from ourselves. Oh my gosh. Do you mean we have to really stop thinking about ourselves and put something, someone else, some concept, some idea, some philosophy before us? Woo, heavy. He says things like bitterness, resentment, hostility, and perhaps the idea of using the offense as a weapon. You know, those little digs or the comment, but you did X, Y, Z. Finger pointing, right? But you did, and you still want to hold on to that. He says temporary forgiveness is nothing more than manipulation. But to truly forgive is to never bring it up again, ever. I think that's so profound, especially in terms of intimate relationships and people, when there's infidelity involved and people are cheating and affairs and all that kind of stuff. And if you're opting to stay with that person beyond that experience, it really takes a level of maturity, emotional intelligence to really say, I am going to forgive you and let it go. That means I'm not bringing it up. That means I'm not jabbing you with it. I'm not sticking you with it. I'm not making snide remarks. I'm not giving you sideways looks. I'm not giving you sideways lips. That means I have truly forgiven you and let it go. That's another higher vibration and frequency that is required to even do that, because you are saying, I am going beyond the hurts. I'm going beyond the fear, because now if you find yourself in that situation, you potentially could be operating from a place of fear, because now there's distrust. There's distrust involved. So that's a very powerful point. To truly forgive is to never bring it up again, ever. You don't have to be the right fighter. Stop being right fighters, right? Again, I share this with you, but I'm also speaking to Lisa. I'm saying, Lisa, you don't always have to be a right fighter. And I trust me, when I have started to apply these things to my life, I'm much more happier. I'm so much happier because I don't need to be a right fighter. Not every time someone says something, do I have to say something. I don't have to do that. I have my perspective, and I'm not here to convince you of mine and so forth. We can agree to disagree, right? He says the grander opportunity rests in giving up offenses completely to wind up free from their bondage on our heart. Listen to that. Oh my gosh. Bondage on our heart, mind, and spirit. Let it go. Let it go. Light as a feather, light as a feather, light as a feather. The stress and anxiety of holding on to unforgiveness is nowhere as taxing as the effort it takes to forgive. I shared this with a sister yesterday. I had an opportunity to build with a just goddess queen, and it was just amazing. She said we went to the ethers and had to be beamed back down, which was just amazing, just kind of the level of conversation that we were having. And that was one of the things that came up as we're talking about how much effort it actually takes to create a frown. That's a lot of muscle memory that is created to do that. And it takes a lot of action and energy to have clenched fists. And I gave her an analogy in terms of when you're putting in the work and how it's much easier to let go and have an open hand in terms of all what your body has to do to make that happen. It was so profound. It was so powerful when you talk about it's so much easier to smile. It's so much easier to smile than be angry. It takes a lot of muscle memory. So then again, it's identifying emotional quotient, emotional intelligence is what I share all the time. It's identifying in you a level of maturity. And in this case, are you being selective with your forgiveness? Are you choosing when to forgive, who to forgive, why to forgive, how to forgive? Because if you're already shown the ability to forgive, that means you're empowered and armed with a choice to do it at any time. So set your mind, body, and heart free. I'm getting fired up in the ATL airport, you guys. They weren't ready. They weren't ready. I'm not in the studio today, but it's okay. We're going to rock and roll still. So as I wrap this up, he said, let's face it, on our deathbed. Ooh, that resonates with me because I share with you all that the reason I get to float, move, and live freely is because I know what my epitaph already says. I live in the end and I do not fear death. I'm very comfortable with that. I've made my peace with it, so I'm here and I live my purpose and I execute that without any regrets. No regrets. No regrets. I operate. I'm a lane hugger. Coach K says I'm a lane hugger. I stay my lane. I know what my purpose is, and I operate from that place. I don't need to dabble in everything else. That's not what I came here to do. I know I'm very clear. I'm very clear. So this is why I have fun doing things like this. Shift your thinking. Ready, Set, Real Estate on Wednesday. And I get to do all these phenomenal things and connect with these beautiful souls all over the country. Because I'm a lane hugger, and guess what? He says nobody's offenses will matter anyway. I don't think you were ready for that. He says, and holding on to those offenses will only get us there that much sooner. Imagine that. So I'll leave this with you. I have had a beautiful opportunity to stream this before I jumped on a plane. And you can catch this on the replay. You can also catch this on the podcast. Available everywhere, and we just joined the Stitcher family, which is great. So that gives us access to 4 million car dashboards across the country. Like I said, I really roll with you now. That's amazing. I'll leave this with you. Are you being selective in your forgiveness? This week, let's identify one moment or one time or incident where someone may cause offense to us and we decide to forgive, albeit we verbally express it to them, or we express it in spirit, or we express it physically. All right, you guys, that is my time. Thank you for joining me for Shift Your Thinking Tuesdays. Make sure you connect, build, and share at LA Super Agent on all social media. Again, now available on radio podcasts everywhere. Be sure to drop a comment and feedback and let me know how this was an added value. Be sure to invite someone and tell them what we're doing. Thank you, and have a powerful and productive week. Love you.